Todd Davidson. I'm the general manager here at Sage Ecological Landscapes. Yeah, we've been partnering with KCBX for about 20 years since I first started Sage. We create meaningful, beautiful, functional environments. Yeah, the Central Coast is a very unique space. We feel blessed to be here. I grew up here, third generation. My son's going to Cal Poly now as well, fourth generation. My grandfather actually came out here in the 1950s with my mom and aunts and uncles as little kids to teach horticulture at Cal Poly, and I actually went through that same program. So I'm very connected with the Central Coast. I love this area. But as a professional doing landscape design build, it is a fascinating and challenging environment in some ways, because we have the Los Padres National Forest and the Santa Lucia Mountains. It's this massive divide that creates microclimates from what we call North County and South County. When you get into the South County, we're more coastal influenced. All of our coastal communities to inland a bit, San Luis Obispo, Nipomo. But once you cross over the hill, they call it the grade, you're in North County, and you have, nights that will get down to 17 degrees sustained for several days in the winter, well over 100 in the summer, and it's a whole different plant palette. Ecological landscaping, I think, has a major sustainability coefficient to it. Ecology meaning, interconnected relationships with wildlife, with the plants that we choose, with people, with habitat creation, whether we're in oak woodland, savanna, maritime chaparral, you name it. But in sustainability, I would say, is more connected to how we go about really smart design. You design an incredible space that just feels good. It sustains us in time and space too. We call it the borrowed landscape. So we live here on the Central Coast. It's such a beautiful area. A lot of our clients will be living in these fringe environments on the edge of a neighborhood or out in a rural environment with the borrowed landscape, meaning nature. And how do we honor that borrowed space in their yard and create all their neat things they want for their kids or pets and their lifestyle? And how do we connect with their architecture, but also that environment? How do we crumble the edges and then tie it into that borrowed landscape? Most of our clients kind of come to us already with that higher level of consciousness. We look at every project as a unique art piece, so there's three main variables that we think about in every job. One of them is their architecture. How do we honor that architecture? How do we extrapolate some of those portions of the architecture into landscape materials? So there's a repetition and a connection to architecture. What windows are we looking at? Are we trying to frame a view that's incredible? Are we trying to screen something unsightly? Some unique features in our recent work that I've been really enjoying, these beautiful Mexican onyx boulders that we go to the stone yard with our clients and pick it out. And they have all these incredible quartz fissures and facets to them. And what we'll do is we'll take these Mexican onyx boulders and cordial them and turn them into fountains. And so they're boulder, and we'll have a subterranean basin around them and have a pump below it and an autofill that keeps it full of water. And then when you turn on the pump, it just recirculates and just has that lovely kind of white noise to fill up an area. We're a Mediterranean climate, so it doesn't rain for a good 8 months of the year, which is why we love to live here. It's incredible weather all the time, but a lot of these plants have had to learn to adapt, to that long of a drought. And it's a really incredible thing in our Mediterranean climate to have a suggestion of water. The Spanish and the Spanish mission garden designs, if you really take a look at the way they honored water, they would have that central tiered water fountain. It's the hub. It's where they would pull their water source for drinking, pouring water off to do laundry, you name it. They would really honor water in our arid space. It goes back to Mediterranean garden design in antiquity, and we just realized in a dry environment, water is so precious. Now in our gardens, we add irrigation and can be very low flow and very conscientious. Make your garden a little more vibrant, look a little better, not going to drought dormancy, which we love to have as we walk up to our home, seeing things blooming. Every once in a while, we will have a client that comes to us that wants to put in a little bit more of a water-loving garden in that environment, and we'll steer them to alternatives. There are really low-flow stream rotor technology that's available now for sprinklers. So if you're going to put in a lawn or something that's more water thirsty, that we can use technology now that's really advanced to help be very efficient with it. Folks that want to have a little bit of a higher water use, that we can still do it in a very smart way to help still meet their non-negotiables. And then the lifestyle. Do they have children? Do they have pets? Do they have big parties and engage with family at holiday events? Or do they kind of stay in smaller group settings and just like to have smaller gatherings that are more intimate? We ask all those questions when we meet folks and try to create that unique art piece for them. A lot of people are really into just lower maintenance in their life too, and that leads to a lot of the type of design that we do. Smart design is going to have to spend more time hanging out with your family, your loved ones, and spending your time doing enjoyable activities than mowing that lawn every week and hedging that hedge that was a plant that's wants to get 20 feet and you're trying to keep it at a 10-foot height because it wasn't maybe the right plant for the right place. We have more and more people wanting to have a communal garden out in the front where a fire pit would normally be, say, designed in the back. We'll have garden spaces, patios, and enjoyable spaces where people will be in their front now that are wanting to say hi to their neighbors and bring them in for a glass of wine or conversation. We had a really incredible project that we just completed. We created this beautiful shade structure, outdoor kitchen for them, and there's a outdoor dining environment, and they just had been living there for years and would never be able to use this, like the biggest part of their backyard, because it was just too hot and inhospitable. And so now they're entertaining there all the time, and it's just wonderful to create a space that can solve some problems for a client so that they can start to really enjoy their property. Our clients become our friends, and it's been our biggest resource over 20 years in business is repeat business and referrals. So referrals in a small community, everybody knows each other around here, and it's been our number one lead generating source are from our clients, our past clients, and they'll call us back to do updates and more work in another part of their project. We try to buy local as much as possible, so we support a lot of our local businesses that either manufacture or produce or deliver things to us locally. You just have these things you can control in this world, and they're very small. And then there's all these things you cannot control. I've always been a huge fan of KCBX and public radio. The music diversity and selections are phenomenal. And so thank you for these types of things we can control, right? Who we support, where we put our money, supporting KCBX, the things we buy, the things we do in our life can have little impact, which matter. They add up.